Ajahn, I have a question. Last week we were talking about vipaka citta, which experience sense objects, and we were differentiating between vipaka cittas and kusala and akusala cittas, because the akusala and akusala cittas do not see or hear. You said something, when it is kusala, it cannot be vipaka. When it is akusala, it cannot be vipaka, because the akusala is jati of the reality arising to be hetu. And whether it is a hetu, but kusala. And you said that's why kusala hetu can be vipaka, but akusala hetu cannot be vipaka. Can you talk more about that, please? That would be helpful, Ajahn.
That's why we have to study just one citta at a time. For example, moha, how many cetasikas arising with it, and how many cetasikas arise with lopa, and how many cetasikas arise with dosa. Is it enough or strong enough to condition akusala vipaka with the akusala hetu? Impossible. Because akusala hetu cannot be vipaka. This is the difference between kusala hetu can be vipaka, but the akusala hetu cannot be vipaka. By way of what conditions? Not just only it cannot be or it can be, but by what condition? By way of what conditions? For example, how many akusala vipaka are there? No matter in what world, at any time, how many akusala vipaka is there or are there together with citta? There are only how many akusala vipaka? It cannot arise with hetu, and it's less than kusala vipaka. Shall we talk about just one citta at a time?
Yes.
For example, how many cetasikas arise with akusala, moha, mula citta? We don't have to count, but it's less because it arises without lopa and dosa, right? And that which arises with lopa and dosa cannot arise with moha, mula citta. Ego.
Correct, right.
Cannot arise because lopa cannot arise. That's why when it conditioned the vipaka as the cetasika which arises with moha, mula citta, is not strong enough, more enough to condition more cetasika.
Okay.
And the cause, it cannot be the result for akusala citta. So we have to study what are the cause, the hetu, because the moha, mula citta, how many hetu cetasika? See, it is moha, mula citta, but how many hetu arise with moha, mula citta? Only one. So the result is just not more cetasika as the kusala, because the moment of kusala needs more cetasika to be wholesome citta. So it can condition the vipaka more than akusala Dhamma. And what are the akusala vipaka? Only 7, see, not more than that. Is it not enough? Only 7 akusala vipaka for no matter how strong Dhamma is there as conditions. Would anyone like to have more? So we have to understand the function of each citta. The akusala vipaka, seeing and taste object, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, 5, and 2 more. Sampatichana, receiving the object, otherwise it cannot be known or it cannot be experienced as something. And as the sampatichana, there must be santirana as vipaka. So altogether 7 akusala vipaka, which one can perform the function of rebirth, patisanti. Seeing cannot, hearing cannot, sampatichana cannot, because it just receives the object. It experiences the object after hearing and seeing it. Only that, just as it, not strong enough. So the strongest of akusala vipaka, which can condition birth, must be santirana. It is vipaka, akusala vipaka. Only one citta can perform the patisantitta of all kinds of being, which is the result of unwholesome kamma in hell, as animal plane, and so on. See?
Yes.
So we have to understand that no matter what strong akusala kamma is, it can produce only 7 akusala vipaka. So we talk about the akusala kamma and its vipaka and 7 citta, which are vipakas, akusala vipaka, and cetasika, which can arise with these akusala vipaka. That's all. See, in the day. Because after birth, the kamma produced or conditioned result to experience and place objects through eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. That's all. As vipaka. Painful feeling, vedana, which is vipaka, akusala vipaka vedana. Not enough. Should be more. Or pain is so very painful, unbearable sometimes, no matter when it arises with anyone. It has to be such painful feeling. But for kusala kamma, it does not arise every often as akusala citta.
Yeah,
It
right.
needs more factors to condition its arising. At least 19 cetasikas, see? But there are more when there are other forms of kusala. That's why it can produce more kusala vipaka, but it has to be according to the level of kusala. Just begin to understand what is there in life after death. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, conditioned by kusala kamma or akusala kamma. But the kusala kamma can produce or can condition more result. That's why people or Deva or Brahma was born different by planes and by cetasikas which arise depending on kamma which condition the patisanti citta. No one, only the way Dhamma is. As kusala or kusala vipaka, akusala or akusala vipaka, or not kusala or akusala, but it is kiriya. Or now, seeing is kusala vipaka or akusala vipaka, and citta as it, and then kusala and akusala. It's time to arise. It arises by conditions.
Yeah.
So we talk about the different condition of kamma and different vipaka. Because kusala kamma cannot be a kusala kamma.
Right.
And there are many degrees or levels of kusala, kama vajra, rupa vajra, arupa vajra, and lokutra. See? That's why there are more metaphysics arising with the kusala vipaka.
Yes, I see that.